What? James Wan is not producing the Resident Evil live action reboot? But I saw his name was everywhere. Oh, just because his name is out there doesn't mean he's actually doing it? Oh, okay. Let's talk about Resident Evil again.
Hello and welcome to the Cavern of Terror.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Cavern of Terror. And as you can tell by that little skit and the title and thumbnail, I don't know why I always say that, we are talking about Resident Evil again. The big topic that I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the fact that James Wan is no longer linked to the Resident Evil reboot. Before we get any deeper into the root of this video, I wanted to apologize by not really talking about James Wan's involvement in my first video. And that's because I didn't think it was necessary to talk about James Wan being involved with a horror franchise. I mean, he's James Wan. He's one of the best horror directors since 2000, in my opinion. So I don't really think I need to talk about James Wan being involved with a horror franchise. But that is not the point of this video. The point of this video is to talk about James Wan no longer being involved with this reboot, or the fact that he may have never been involved with this to begin with. I'm going to be a little bold here and say I think I know what you're thinking. Zach, what are you talking about? James Wan was clearly involved with this. His name was everywhere. He was going to be involved with this Resident Evil reboot. And I'm going to say that he might have been talking to Sony at some point to be involved with this franchise, but I don't think those talks ever really cemented into anything tangible. How do I know this is the next question that you're asking, and I will read a quote from a Bloody Disgusting interview with James Wan himself, and here's what he said. They announced that I'm attached to a lot of stuff. A lot of them are not necessarily real. It's kind of annoying when things come and go, or things never came in the first place. I hate it when my projects get announced. It makes it seem like I'm attached to a lot of things, when in fact I'm not necessarily doing so many things. A lot of my stuff just gets announced, and I don't want them to be announced, but people love to announce them. What do we get from that quote? Well, it's clear that he is not involved with this Resident Evil reboot anymore. One other thing that I got from this quote is the fact that any studio is going to really want to use James Wan's name. If James Wan is attached to something at some point, they are going to put his name out there because he's such a huge name in the horror genre, and if you put his name on something that's coming out, it's going to get the attention from horror fans, it's going to get the attention from film fans, and he's been a huge name in horror. He's been a huge name in horror since 2004 and Saw. In my opinion, the guy has not made a bad film yet. Even his more lesser known films like Dead Silence and Death Sentence are still very well made. Considering the situation with Fast and the Furious, with the untimely death of Paul Walker, he saved that movie from being a huge disaster, and if you looked at the pre-sale tickets for Aquaman, they're more than Black Panther, so you're going to want to use James Wan's name. With that being said, it's completely understandable for Sony to want to use his name to get this thing going, to get buzz for it, because we know what happened to the Resident Evil franchise here in the United States. Yes, I know that some of the later movies are really popular overseas, especially in China, but they're not very popular here. We need to get buzz going for it, and using a huge horror director's name is definitely going to help you. Yes, they did it a little bit prematurely, but it's still a smart idea. Let me correct myself before I move forward. Sony, it was a smart idea on paper, but you can't move forward with that because James Wan is clearly too busy to do Resident Evil. He can't produce this because of some reasons that we're going to get into right now. Do you remember what I said about Aquaman and pre-sales being bigger than Black Panther? Yeah, Warner Brothers and DC are already talking about doing an Aquaman 2, and I know that they are going to want to use James Wan again, so you know he's going to be really busy with that. And of course, there are upcoming DC projects that James Wan is already involved with. I mean, he's producing the Swamp Thing television show for the DC Universe app, and I'm really excited about that. I almost forgot, and I don't know how I can forget this, but he is also involved with the Conjuring universe, and we cannot, especially me, forget the Conjuring universe because we have the Conjuring 2 that he was involved with, Annabelle Creation that he was involved with, The Nun, and possibly a sequel to The Nun. You know it's going to happen because it made a lot of money. And we have an upcoming sequel to Annabelle, another one, and The Conjuring 3. He's been involved with all these movies. He's an executive producer. This franchise is his baby. So you know, with the DC stuff that he's working on and the Conjuring universe stuff that he's working on, there's no possible way he can work on another franchise for Sony. Don't get me wrong here, guys. James Wan is a very, very talented dude. But there is no way that he can do all of that and the Resident Evil reboot. He's only one guy. A very talented guy. But he's only one guy. Okay, guys. So those, before this point of the video were my thoughts on James Wan leaving the Resident Evil reboot as a producer. Moving forward, Resident Evil no longer has a producer. Who would you pick? Let me know down in the comments down below. So, who would I pick to be the new producer of this Resident Evil reboot? If you watched my last video, which is technically my first Resident Evil video in this new series of events that we have going on here, I wanted to slow down the series. I wanted to get rid of all that bloated, over-the-top action and make it very atmospheric, very dark, very character-based. If you ask me, I would bring in someone like Mike Flanagan or Fede Alvarez. These two filmmakers are so used to doing things that are a little bit more low budget and very character based. I mean, watch Don't Breathe, watch Hush, watch Before I Wake, watch the Evil Dead remake. All those movies are super dark, super atmospheric, and very character driven. Either one of those guys could steer this ship in a very, very interesting direction that is completely different from where we went with the original Resident Evil series. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big fucking thumbs up. If you're new to the Cavern of Terror, make sure you hit that little subscribe button right over there. Don't worry, it won't bite you. And make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you get notified about all my future content. I know! Sorry, my Final Destination 4 Blu-ray is screaming at me. It wants me to review it for some reason. I also have my Nightmare on Elm Street review series coming very soon. As you can tell behind me, I kinda like the franchise. As always, guys, you can follow me on social media. All those links are in the motherfucking description box down below. But most importantly, guys, I'm Zach. This has been the Cavern of Terror. Stay metal, my friends.